It's great to be here with Elizabeth Chubbuck to talk about the perspective on customers and growth. And Elizabeth has been one of our very active Outthinkers members and really excited to chat with you today. So thanks for being with us.
Jessica, thanks so much for creating the opportunity. It's a really timely and important conversation and something I'm thrilled to participate in.
Awesome. Let's start with really your perspective on what are the most critical issues for leaders today when you think about growth, which is such a critical topic for um, business performance and for strategists today.
About growth going forward, it's really clear that we can't compete on marketing dollars alone. And so when we're thinking about growth and the role of the customer, and very limited resources and increasing cost of digital marketing, right? The sort of loss of efficacy of those dollars, I really take a step back and almost say, how do we balance a little bit of this old school and new school approach to it? It really points me to brand and the experience we're delivering to customers. And how can we really double down and maximize the impact we drive through brand engagement, brand awareness, whether that's earned media, collaboration, or even just our own organic channels and the MarTech that we have within that space. And then also, how do we ensure that when customers come to interact with our brand, they're having an experience that leaves an impression that they want to come back for. So we are really thinking about, not just like customer lifetime value and acquisition and customer lifetime value, but how do we really convert our customers into advocates for the brand?
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. I think that brand experience that customers have every day is such an important driver to the value of relationships, the retention and tenure that exists with customers. So I think you're very much right on some of those key trends we're seeing in a lot of different sectors. So why, certainly understand why customer focus is so important at the operational level. Why does customer focus matter for senior leadership and for CEOs today? Why is it important there?
It's so easy to become really disconnected from our customers, to really lose sight of them as we're focused on sort of the next big thing. How are we securing the resources? What is the future we need to be planning for? And the customer can easily take a back seat if there isn't true advocacy within that senior leadership group for the role of the customer and the voice of the customer. When we're thinking about the rapid expansion of AI and personalization and how that is going to begin to further fragment our ability to reach customers, there's an increasing need to connect with the customer, understand what their needs are, how they want to be met, where they want to be spoken to, and ensure that the future we're building within our organizations is equipped and focused on building to that reality. If we leave the customer out of the equation from the beginning, the growth that we are able to achieve will be fragmented, sort of stop and go, and does not have a true sense of partnership. Without customers, we don't have business. So, from my perspective, customer first is really the way to think about it.
You were part of our inaugural kind of meeting of the minds think tank session on the topic of customer strategy that we held a few months ago in New York. And I would love to hear your perspective on what were some of the biggest takeaways from that session, and how do you think those insights might help leaders who are faced with some of these challenges we've been talking about around putting the customer first and prioritizing these critical areas.
I was really struck by the sort of universality of the struggles that we're dealing with, or sorry, I was very struck by the universality of the challenges that we're facing here in our organization and how shared they are. It's very easy to sit in the seat we're in and look at the challenges we face every day and imagine that we are alone in those challenges. But to be able to sort of share our biggest struggles and hear other leaders from organizations and bigger than ours, smaller than ours, similar size, all nod their heads, to look around the table and see everyone nodding in agreement, or to hear somebody say, wouldn't that be the golden ticket, that solution that we're all looking for, was an incredibly validating experience.
One of the things which I think we touched on in that session that I have certainly found to be useful is the idea of experimentation, the idea of getting out and doing little tests, not necessarily making that one big investment, but actually trying things out and learning from it. Can you speak to your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a path forward in a way that customer leaders and marketers and strategists can kind of forge ahead to try to make the case for customer investments?
Without a doubt, the sort of any opportunity we have to run a test, build a bit of a case study internally within our own customer base and the tools we have, is a great building block. In this increasingly digitized world where we have all these customer data points, how do we remember to pull the qualitative points into the equation as well? That quantitative data will get us a long way, but if we don't bring in the nuance of that qualitative piece, the true human experience, that real who that real customer is and what their actual experience is in the situation, then we risk moving in a very sort of single dimension, right? That ability to pull in that qualitative component alongside the quantitative data gives us a much more multidimensional approach that adds nuance to the way we go to market, the way we think about our products, and the way we design futures or build strategy with customer in the center.
That is such a good point. And I would say, one of the things that I have found to be really helpful in every company I've worked with has been to actually, when you're a strategist or a marketer, to get out into the stores, into the field, expose yourself as much as possible to actual real live customers in their environment. And that I think adds, as you said, adds so much dimension
Yeah.
to the data and the broader insights and the strategy. So, perhaps that's, an easy way that anyone, no matter where they're sitting, can kind of get themselves closer to the customer and maybe help bolster some of the cases they're trying to make for these broader investments and strategic moves.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there. We're fortunate that it's easy for me to walk into our shops in New York City. And so I always try to spend some time in there during peak holiday times where we have a rush of customers. And it's one of my favorite moments of the year to be on the store floor during that period of time and talk to the customers and understand, what brought you in here today? Who are you? What's your familiarity with our brand? And there's a lot of rich information from that sort of boots on the ground interaction with customers at that when you're in that executive level, because it gives a little bit more context to and what you're seeing big picture in that zoomed out lens. And I think that, like, we're a retail brand, and so it's particularly accessible to us. But I think it's in theory accessible to any executive in any industry. There's always a group within the organization that's meeting with the customers in a frontline way. And so where are those opportunities to join a sales call, join an account review call, step in, do a site visit for one of your manufacturers and really get a sense of what their experience is and what they know about you that is not visible to you in the seat that you're in today. It really helps bring a dimension into strategy and decision making and growth, that is the kind of the secret sauce. It's unique to each brand, and it really is a bit of that secret sauce, if you will.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure chatting with you for as part of the Outthinkers Network, and appreciate the time. So, thank you.
Jessica, thanks so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate your leadership in this conversation and your vision for structuring it and shaping it. So can't wait for the next one.